Hello everybody, welcome or welcome back. It is the 2nd of January today, so it is 2025, the new year, but I have not filmed my November or December wrap-ups yet. I'm just going to get into it with the first book. I finished off the Prison Healer trilogy. I read the first book at the end of October and then finished them both off at the start of the month. The Gilded Cage and the Blood Traitor. I really loved this series. I can't remember which book was my favourite, either the second or the third. But I really enjoyed all of them. Really loved the characters. Like, I've already kind of spoken about the series quite a bit in different videos, like different recommendations and stuff. Overall, the series really outdid my expectations. The description of the first book, a healer in a prison, didn't really get me super excited. But this series is so much more than that. I really loved it. Loved the romance plot in it. Loved the overall plot in it. It's like found family. Really like the magic system. I really like everything about it. I think it's like one of my favorite trilogies I've ever read. Next, I read a book called Stay by, it was by Elle Kennedy. I only have Elle Kennedy written down, but it was in collaboration with someone else. I don't remember much about the book. What I do remember is that it was a really fast read and it was not great. That's really all I remember about it. It was, after reading the Prison Healer trilogy, I felt like I just needed like a nothing book, and it definitely was that. But it was one of those nothing books that I didn't end it thinking like, okay, now I'm ready for my next book, you know, that was fine, that was nice, just time filler. I was like, that was a waste of time. I don't know where I read that. This woman who owned a like virtual assistant service, which is very random, and one of her clients, she was under the impression he was this hockey player who she really likes, and they start like flirting over this virtual assistant service, which is just very like, I've never heard of a book like that before, and I feel like these like shocking like meet cutes, I guess, like can sometimes drag me in, and then you actually read it and there's like nothing to the rest of the book. We have Scarlet Princess. I read this on the Kindle, and it's just another like fantasy romantasy series. This princess, and she's from this kingdom, kind of like giving Brave, that Disney movie Brave vibes. Like, she's caught in these tunnels in between her kingdom and the next kingdom, or like in the next kingdom, because they're trying to get vodka from the next kingdom to bring to their kingdom. It's a really silly start, but we completely move away from that. She's found by a clan from this other kingdom. The way that the other kingdom's set up is they're in like separate clans. Like, there's like Bear Clan, Eagle Clan, fucking Tiger Clan, like all these different clans that all have like a segment of the kingdom, whereas her kingdom is like her family rule the whole place. She gets found by one of these clans, and they're like, well, you broke the rules, and we're gonna have to ask everybody from all the leaders from all the clans what they want to do with you, basically. So she's like prisoner now. It was good. I read the whole series, so I'm just gonna talk about the whole series, even though I think I read like one book in between. I quite liked it. The first book I was like, okay, this is kind of like a nothing fantasy. Second book, there's something missing. Third book, there's something missing. There was always something missing that stopped me from being like, I love this series. Like, oh my god, I'm gonna think about this series all the time. But it was really good. It was really fast paced. I obviously read 4 books like in quite quick succession. Once we got into like the main romance of the whole series, I really liked it. Like, I felt like it didn't just become like, oh, he's perfect in every single way, because I feel like we can get that sometimes in books, like, oh, he can do no wrong now. There was still like disagreements and arguments and differences between them, and it's like they didn't just agree with each other on everything, which I appreciated, because it felt kind of like more real to how these people would actually like be in a relationship together. There was definitely like plot holes and times when I was like, okay, I thought we were here and now we're here, and like what, and but overall I did like it. In between reading those books, I listened to Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. I wasn't aware that Ali Hazelwood was putting out a little something. I found it on Kindle app. Basically, it was this like audio only novella from Ali Hazelwood. It was like 4.5 hours, so it was like half of a normal Ali Hazelwood book, and it was just like a full, basically just half of an Ali Hazelwood book on audio. And I was like, oh my god, this is the luckiest day of my life, because if you don't know, I fucking love Ali Hazelwood, especially love Ali Hazelwood books on audio. I think they're so fun. I love going on walks and I'll just like walk in circles and listen to them. It was kind of like workplace vibes. So we had these two video game companies, and they both want to make the video game version of this book series, but the people who like have the book are like, oh, we like parts of what you guys can do and we like parts of what you guys can do. Can you guys work together? The problem is that these two companies hate each other. I don't really understand that, why they hate each other, where's that coming from? But everybody from each company hates each other. There's like series of bad events between them, whatever. What they end up doing is they go away on this retreat with both the companies to try and like bridge the gap so they can work together. We are following obviously one girl from this one company, forget the name, sorry. She really, really loves this book series. She really wants to make this work. A lot of the people at both companies are like, they're very much like, this is not gonna happen, no way. There's nothing we can do. But she really wants to make this work. She really wants to make this game. Guy from the other company, who she is like seen around a lot, she feels like he hates her, has a problem with her for some fucking reason, because every time that they've been around each other, whatever, he has like been really standoffish or just walked away or just ignored her, whatever. So she's like, you hate me. Don't love miscommunication, but I do usually appreciate Miss Ali Hazelwood and Ali Hazelwood miscommunication. For some reason it just works. Really, really liked it. I could have read a full book of it. Really loved it. Really loved the characters. I thought it was great. So yeah, if you haven't seen that on your whatever audio apps you use, it was really good. So I'd recommend. I started the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy, which is another trilogy which I've like been aware of for a long time, wanted to read for a long time. Read the first book. I was expecting to complete the whole series this year, and I didn't, which maybe gives you an indication of how I left the first book. At the book, we meet these two young twins who are witches, and they're kind of like doing like a seance situation. But then Nat and their grandma is telling them all these stories about the Wickeds. They give like the princes of hell, and she's telling them about them and how scary they are, and you don't want to come in contact with them, and they're all terrible, blah, blah, blah. These girls are like, all right, they sound kind of sick, whatever. Fast forward to when they're older, one of the sisters gets murdered. Oh my god. And the other one is like, oh god, I've got to figure out what happened. And she kind of starts to realize that her sister's been getting into some dark magic, some dark dealings with the wicked. So she decides to get into some dark dealings with the wicked. And yeah, that's kind of where we go. It was just like, you know, when really big things are happening and it's like should be exciting and you should be on the edge of your seat and you should be wanting to know what's going to happen next, but you just don't care because everything feels mundane, even though it's not mundane at all. That's what I got from this book. I liked it more towards the end, but I really, really struggled to get through like the first 3/4 of it, probably. So I'll probably continue it. Well, I will continue it. I'm gonna try and finish it next year. This year, it's 2025. The first book was a little bit of a disappointment because I was really excited about it, so. The last book that I read in November was The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. I think this is the second book in The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night, started it on holiday in the summer, and it took me a little while to finish that one. It took me a little while to finish. So I put off reading this one because I haven't heard the best things about the second book. People really rave about the first one and they're like, oh, the second one let me down, or I kind of like got bored, got slumped out during it. So I've been kind of putting it off, but I thought, you know what, I'll just pick it up. And I quite liked it. I've already been telling you ratings, have I? Okay, I rated Stay like a 1 to 2, really didn't like, more like a 2. Scarlet Prince, Tarnished Crown, Crimson Kingdom, Obsidian Throne, all around like a 4 to a 4.25, all around that kind of area. Who Can Play was honestly like like a 5-star, 4.75, loved it. Kingdom of the Wicked was like 3-star probably. And then Ashes and the Star-Cursed King was like a 4-star, solid 4-star. So I quite liked it in the end. I feel like I actually like was more absorbed in this one than I was reading The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Obviously, I can't really tell you much about it, but just following on from the first book, I quite liked where the plot went. I thought it was kind of exciting. I don't know if I'm going to continue that series, because from what I know, it's just moving on to a different character's story, which I don't really care about. It took me a little while, but it was quite a long book and I had a good time. I didn't get bored. So maybe if you read the first book and you're like scared to continue because you've heard like bad things, you should just continue, because I thought it was really good. Moving on into December, first book I read to start off the Christmas season was The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ali Carter. This was a really exciting one to read because I probably wasn't going to. I had it on my Goodreads and I really wanted the physical book, but I just didn't want it enough to buy it like on Amazon. I just didn't want it. It's hard to buy a Christmas book like that because it's only like, there's only one time of the year that it's like right to read it or that you'd want to read it. Also, the UK cover is not as cute as the American cover, so I was kind of pissed off and I was like, ugh, can't be bothered. But every time I'd go into a bookstore, like a Waterstones or whatever, I would look for this book, just, you know, curiosity, like if I see it, then maybe it's meant to be, I'll buy it. And I wasn't seeing it anywhere. And I was like, okay, well, it's probably not here, it's just not being stocked because, you know, they only have a certain amount of stock. And again, I was just in Waterstones one day. I was visiting friends and I was waiting for my friends to come into town. Like I just got off the train and I was waiting for them to like come meet me. And I was just in Waterstones looking around, actually looking for a toilet. And there's the book just on the shelf, like just one copy. It wasn't on the tables, like 5 copies, 1 copy on the shelf. And I was like, oh my God, meant to be. So I bought it. That long explanation, all to say, I really liked it. I think I rated it like a 4.25 stars. It was this like Knives Out vibe, murder mystery, like we're all locked in a house and someone's been murdered or someone's gone missing, who done it, one of those kind of situations. So this girl who is a author and she's got this invitation to this house for Christmas in like some countryside very far from where she's from, and she's like, okay, this is so random, but I'm gonna go. Also invited is this guy from work who she really doesn't like. She feels like he just like picks on her all the time, whatever, blah blah blah. Obviously, we have a little bit of a romance go on. I really loved the romance. I thought it was really, really cute. Overall, I just really enjoyed the book. The only like thing I had with it is I felt like sometimes the banter just didn't like play off the page very well. I was like, I could see this happening like in a movie really well. Like this back and forth would feel really like entertaining and funny and blah blah blah. But on the page, sometimes banter like that, when it's like a little bit stoppy-starty or it's not a full sentence, can just read like dumb, and then you realize what's been said. Do you know what I mean? You're like, that didn't make any sense, it's not a sentence. And then you read it again, you're like, oh, he's making a joke. Got it. Overall, I really liked it. It was probably my favorite Christmas themed book that I read this year or ever. So yeah. Next, I listened to this collection of short stories called Under the Mistletoe. I think Ali Hazelwood had one, Tessa Bailey had one, and these are the other people that had them. I'm not sure. Some of them I listened to fully, some of them I DNF'd, whatever. Overall, I only really liked 2 of them. Obviously the Ali Hazelwood one I really liked, and I really liked one that I think was called All by My Elf. Really liked is maybe a strong word. Overall, if you didn't listen to these this year and you're like, maybe I should next year, the only 2 that I would recommend listening to is Cruel Winter with You, which I think is the Ali Hazelwood one, and then All by My Elf. Those are the only 2 that really, I think that's by Alexis Daddario. Those are the only 2 that really like made me feel any kind of Christmas vibes and were interesting to me. Okay, next I did a reread. I think I actually just listened to this, but I did a re-listen, I guess, of Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is a book that I think I've already reread before, so I think this is the 3rd time reading it, and it's a romance that I really, really love. So basically, following Ariana, I think her name is, and we meet her with her like group of friends. Her brother's part of these friends, and they're more like siblings than friends really, or cousins than friends. All their parents are really close and they have like a joint beach house. Like it's very that vibe, and it's their last summer before they go off to college, so they're like trying to make the most of it and have the most fun they can and all that kind of stuff. In this group of friends, there's this guy who, what's his name, Chase I think, who Ariana is like in love with and has been in love with forever. She's obsessed with him. He obviously is her brother, who's also part of this like friend group, one of his best friends, so he's like, no girl. But things maybe happen between them on this summer and he's like, no girl, because your brother, I can't, your brother would kill me. So Ariana is going back to, is starting college, like so sad about this breakup, and another romance starts to form. It's kind of a love triangle, but honestly it's not. You know where it's going from the start, and if you don't, then you don't. It's so good up until like this crazy fucking thing happens, which is just like one of the most ridiculous book tropes in the world, like in a romance scenario like this. But I still really liked it. I still really love this book. I feel like it's one that I'll reread whenever I'm just like, romances aren't hitting, because no matter how far away I get from like the first time I read this book, I still love the romance every single time. I still find it so lovely and endearing and whatever. So if you haven't read Say You Swear, if you feel like maybe like you missed the boat on it, just give it a read. It's really good. It's like, it's one of those books that's like a little bit shit, but like so good. It's like reality TV reading, but like the top notch of that, you know what I mean? Next, I read The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. This was one that I honestly just read because the cover was really cute and it gave Christmas vibes. I barely remember what happened. I think they got snowed in at a Christmas tree farm. To be fair though, I did read a lot of it in one car ride and it kept me really engaged. Like a positive about it, but overall I wouldn't really recommend it. I definitely wouldn't read it again. If you haven't read it this year, I feel like it's not one that I'd say like you need to get to it next time, you know what I mean? So yeah. Next, I finally picked up Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez. This is the second book in the What the River Knows duology. What's it called? I think it's called The Secrets of the Nile duology, whatever. I absolutely loved the first one. I rated it 4.75 when I first read it, but have definitely upped it to a 5-star because I haven't stopped talking about it, thinking about it. Actually, there it is. Where's the Library Hide? It's right here. But I finally picked it up. It came out in November, I think the end of November, so I left it a little bit. And I really liked it. I rated it like a 4.5. I think I liked the first book more. I absorbed, couldn't put down the first book, but I did really love it. I had my mum read the first book, so when I was reading the second, she kept asking me like, oh, is it good? Are you liking it? Whatever. I was like, I really like it, but I feel like not much has happened. Like, I could list off the things that have happened and a lot's happened, but it just doesn't feel like much is happening. We're just kind of like going day to day, which is kind of how the other book was as well, but I like it because I just really love the characters and all that. There's a bit of like dishonesty and not admitting to how people feel and all that kind of stuff, but in the context of this world, I don't really mind it. Overall, really love it. If you want like a little bit of a different like romance, mystery, kind of a little bit fantasy, historical duology, I definitely really recommend it. Next, now this book is drama. I don't know if it's drama or if it's actually like serious crime, but I don't know. I read Ranger by Rebecca Sharp. I started this when I was in the car driving up to France because we have obviously a very long car ride from England to France. And I felt like I just wanted something really fast but really engaging. And I had this saved on my Kindle because I saw someone recommend it as like all this series is all of the guys have been based off someone from Criminal Minds, and this one was I think Spencer Reid, and I've never read a book with like a Spencer Reid-esque love interest, so I really love Criminal Minds, so I was like, that sounds interesting, maybe I'll like that, let me try it. It's fine, like Did it really give suspense a read? I don't know. I got what they were trying to do, but I don't know. But it was okay, and I was like reading it, getting through it. Then I'm not gonna get into it because this ain't my tea to get into. But there's fucking drama or like serious shit. I was in the Goodreads review section, and people were linking articles and saying, warning, warning, do not read, do not, you know, do not give this author any whatever. So, I mean, I'm sat here giving this author whatever, but also saying, do your due diligence and look into it before you read it, because I didn't, and it didn't look good. I don't know. I didn't really look into it, but there was something going on there. So I think I rated it a 2-star. It was fine. It was fine. You know what I mean? It was fine. Last but certainly not least, I read Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Got the Renegade series for Christmas. I'm reading the second book right now. Really, really, really liking it. So, Renegades. We start in this world. It's like a dystopian world where prodigies, equality for everybody. Everybody needs to be equal, but then it just became like crime. You know, when it's like anarchy because we want to be equal, we need equality, and then it's like no one's in charge, so it's just like everybody runs rampant, that kind of vibe. From that, the Renegades come up as these like combatants to the anarchists, and they defeat the anarchists, and they create a new society where the Renegades are like judge, jury, protector, police, president. They are rulers of this entire human society, and the Renegades are all prodigies. Prodigies are also what these anarchists were. Basically, they're just people with some sort of power. Fast forward to where we are now. We follow Nova, who is part of the anarchists or the villains. She decides to infiltrate the Renegades. While she's doing that, she meets Adrian, who is a renegade, and he's like the son of the like Captain America of the Renegades, basically. And they start to form this like friendship, kind of like, they obviously both have a little crush on each other, and we kind of like follow them basically and their team through the rest of the books, I'm guessing. I really like it. I'm still reading the second book and enjoying that so far. So yeah. What did I rate the first book? I think I rated the first one like a 4.25, maybe a 4.5 at a stretch. Overall, really liked it. There's like this little romance element that I really like. I would like a little bit more of it. But to be fair, they are like, I do appreciate that we are like a quarter into the second book and still there hasn't even been like anything more than like a accidental handhold, which I appreciate because we've got to keep it going throughout the whole series, don't we? But so yeah, that is it. Those are all the books that I read in November and December. Overall had like okay reading months. I felt a little bit like out of it, wasn't really that focused on reading. Going into this year, good vibes. Hopefully it's going to be a good reading year. If you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time.